If you ask the average person how they feel about modern dating, you usually get, a groan before you even get an answer.
Oh, absolutely. A heavy sigh.
Right, yeah. You hear words like, exhausting or confusing, and this is my personal favorite, battlefield. It just, feels like everyone is fighting for this really scarce resource, and if you aren't wearing armor, you're just gonna get hurt.
It really does feel that way for a lot of people. I mean, it feels like the odds are rigged, like the apps are these broken algorithms designed just to keep you single. And you're lucky if you survive a Friday night without being ghosted.
Exactly. It's this deep sense of fatigue. But what if we told you that dating isn't actually a game of luck? What if the whole battlefield metaphor is actually the exact thing making you fail?
Right. The mindset is the problem.
Yeah, because we've pulled a stack of sources for today's deep dive that argue dating is a skill set. It's something you can engineer with, dare I say, ruthless efficiency.
That is the core promise of the material we are getting into today. And it's a really eclectic mix of sources. We have a very philosophical, almost hyper-strategic essay from Alvaro de Menard called How to Be Good at Dating.
And de Menard is so interesting because he writes from this perspective of having gone from a total, monk mode of isolation to being a very active, highly systematic dater. We're just recording his views here, but it's a wild shift.
It is, and we're pairing his high-level strategy with the really tactical, on-the-ground advice from Matthew Hussey's Love Life content. Hussey focuses on those invisible social dynamics that most people just completely miss.
Oh, and we cannot forget, we also have a very specific, slightly bizarre data point from Bustle about the best music for intimacy.
Yes, the music fact.
I cannot wait to get to that. It completely blew my mind, but let's set the stage first. The mission for this deep dive is to really debunk the idea that you just have to wait for lightning to strike.
Right.
Whether you're looking for a spouse or just a casual fling, you have to actually design your love life. You can't just stumble into it.
And to do that, to actually design it, we have to start with the biggest mindset shift in our whole stack of sources. We have to dismantle that battlefield idea you mentioned at the start.
Okay, let's unpack this, because de Menard makes this point really strongly, and honestly, it's a bit confronting. He says most people treat the opposite sex like an adversary, like you're trying to trick them into liking you.
Precisely. It's what he calls the zero-sum fallacy. You see this everywhere in standard dating advice. The idea is that for me to win a date or win a commitment, I have to somehow defeat your defenses.
Right, like if I win, you lose.
Exactly. It's inherently combative, and if you're constantly at war, of course you're going to be exhausted.
So what's the alternative then?
Well, he argues that dating should be viewed as a team sport.
A team sport? I mean, that sounds a little corporate, doesn't it? Like, hey, let's circle back and synergize on this date.
It does sound a bit dry when you say it like that. But think about the actual mechanics of it. If you are looking for a relationship, whether it's casual or serious, you are essentially looking for a collaborator. You want someone who wants the exact same outcome you do.
So you aren't enemies fighting over a scarce resource. You're potential teammates just checking if you play the same position.
Yes. If you shift your perspective to, I am looking for a teammate who wants what I want, the pressure just evaporates. You aren't trying to trick them. You're just vetting them.
I really love that. It takes the whole performance aspect out of it. You aren't trying to communicate. But de Menard also talks about how to find those teammates. And this is where it gets really interesting and honestly a little risky. We'll talk about the handcuff rule.
Yes. This is a fascinating concept he calls polarizing filters. So he shares this anecdote where during his single years, he put a picture of a pair of leather handcuffs on his dating profile.
Which, let's be honest, is a massive swing. Most dating advice screams, be approachable, smile, show everyone you like hiking and tacos.
Exactly. The standard advice is to cast the widest net possible to maximize your options. But he argues that is a catastrophic waste of time. He used the handcuffs because he was specifically looking for women who were adventurous, open-minded, perhaps a bit kinky.
So he was intentionally trying to scare away the vanilla crowd.
He was. And that is the underlying lesson. You shouldn't aim for broad appeal. You want to create filters that push away the wrong people just as strongly as they magnetize the right people for you.
But isn't that dangerous? I mean, we all have a fear of rejection. Deliberately inducing rejection seems totally counterintuitive.
It is scary at first, but think about the efficiency of it. If you're a massive nerd who loves Dungeons and Dragons, or you have really specific political views, don't hide it. Put it front and center. You want the person who sees that and says, finally, someone like me. not the person who just tolerates it.
That's such a good point. It's about opportunity cost. Like, why go on 10 mediocre dates where you have to pretend to be normal when you could go on one great date with someone who actually likes your weird obsessions?
Exactly. You are trading volume for accuracy.
But, and this is a really big but, he also emphasizes that while you should filter for personality, you absolutely cannot ignore the basics. He calls them table stakes.
The harsh reality check. He is pretty ruthless about this part.
Yeah, he basically says, look, you need to be fit, you need to groom yourself, and you need to dress well. Non-negotiable.
He calls physical fitness the highest ROI investment in your dating life.
ROI meaning return on investment, which sounds really cold, almost transactional.
It is cold,
Yeah.
but he argues it's foundational.
Yeah.
And here is where it gets really interesting. He says it's not just about vanity or aesthetics. He says a fit body is a billboard advertising self-love.
A billboard for self-love. That's a really powerful reframe. It's not just, hey, look, I have abs. It's, look, I have discipline.
Precisely. It signals vitality, health, and the ability to delay gratification. Because if you can't show up for yourself, how can you expect a teammate to believe you'll show up for them? These are just the table stakes to get in the game. You can be as polarizing as you want with your personality, but you have to be appealing with your presentation.
Okay, so we've got the mindset team sport. We've got the strategy, polarizing filters, and table stakes. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the tactics. Because Matthew Hussey has some really specific advice on how to actually flirt without looking like a creep or, a desperate person.
Hussey is fantastic at the social mechanics. And he starts with a metaphor that I think will resonate with literally anyone who has ever pined after someone who just won't commit to a plan. He calls it the deserted island.
Oh man, I have definitely been stranded there. Checking my phone. Hoping for a rescue boat that never comes.
We all have. The concept is simple. Don't trap people on a deserted island. If you invite someone to coffee and they don't say yes, or they give you a wishy-washy excuse without offering a new time,
We just move on.
you move on immediately. Hussey says, if they aren't proactive enough to say, I can't do Tuesday, but I can do Thursday, then they aren't proactive enough to be your teammate.
But what if they are genuinely busy? Like, life happens.
If they are genuinely busy and actually interested, they will propose a solution. If they just say, oh, I'm so busy this week, they are politely declining. Hussey's point is that you are looking for enthusiasm. If you have to drag them to the starting line, the rest of the race is going to be miserable.
That connects right back to Demonard's point about teammates. You want someone who actually wants to play. But let's say you're past that invite stage. You're actually in the room with them, say at a party. Hussey has this technique for invisible flirting that I thought was genius. It's about closing down space.
Yes, this is a very subtle power move. The idea is to engage with someone warmly. Give them your full attention, maybe a compliment, make them feel great, and then you walk away.
Walk away, you just leave them standing there.
Ideally, you go do something else fun. Go dance, talk to other people. It creates what he calls a rubber band effect.
So you're creating tension by removing your attention.
Precisely. If you just stand there hovering over them all night, you become a burden. You become that person who won't leave me alone. But by withdrawing, you let them feel your absence. You let them observe you being an independent social entity in the room.
It totally changed the dynamic from I need you to entertain me to I am actively choosing you.
Exactly. And then when you circle back later,
It's exciting. It's like, oh, they came back.
it validates that you actually chose to come back. Not that you were just stuck there because you had no one else to talk to. It creates value through scarcity.
And speaking of hovering, but in a good way, Hussey also breaks down physical touch. And this is a tricky ground, right? Because touch can go wrong very fast. We live in a world where unwanted touch is a massive, serious issue.
Absolutely. And Hussey's very aware of that. Yeah. That is exactly why he suggests the almost touch.
The hover.
Yes, the hover. Gesturing near someone, entering their personal space without actually making physical contact. It creates anticipation. It's the difference between grabbing someone's arm, which can feel aggressive, and reaching out as if to touch their arm to emphasize a point, but stopping just short.
It's like checking the temperature before you jump in the water.
It signals intimacy without forcing it on them. It allows the other person to lean in if they want, or lean away.
And there was that specific story he told, the tired headrest.
Yes, the woman who broke out of the friend zone, she was with guys she really liked. They were sitting together, and she rested her head on his shoulder for a moment, acting tired.
A total classic move. But why does it actually work so well?
Because of plausible deniability.
Right. Because if he stiffens up or acts weird, she can just say, oh, sorry, I'm exhausted, and sit up. No harm done.
Exactly. But if he likes her, he puts his arm around her, it's a massive green light. It signals a shift from "we are buddies" to "I feel safe and physically comfortable with you." It allows the other person to escalate without the super high risk of a verbal confession.
Low risk, high reward. Now, we really can't talk about modern dating without talking about the apps, the digital battlefield. De Menard has a pretty cynical or maybe just realistic take on this.
He is very blunt about it. He says the apps are straight up pay to win.
Meaning you should actually pay for the premium features, like Tinder Gold or whatever.
Yes, he argues that Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, these are businesses. If you aren't getting matches, don't just complain the system is rigged. Pay for the boost, pay for the premium filters, and for heaven's sake, pay for professional photos.
He calls Tinder a mirror disguised as a window, which is just a brutal line.
It really is. It means if you aren't liking what you see on the other side, it might be a reflection of how you
Well, instead of blaming the dating pool, you need to blame your marketing strategy.
harsh, but yes. He says to improve your market value. His words and the view changes.
But once you do match, or if you slide into the DMs, what do you actually say? Hussey had this hilarious bit about these boomer statistics claiming teens use Facebook to flirt.
From the Pew Research data. It felt like it was written by someone who hasn't been a teenager since 1975. But the core principle of digital flirting remains true. You cannot just send fire emojis.
Please, for the love of everything, stop sending fire emojis. It's so lazy. So what do we do instead? His team suggested the arm wrestle tactic.
This is a masterclass in playful teasing. Let's say someone posts a gym selfie or a thirst trap. Instead of validating them like everyone else in their comments with a "wow, looking good," you slide in and say, "This post only proves that I could beat you in an arm wrestle."
I really love that because it acknowledges they look strong, so it is a compliment, but it's framed as a challenge.
It creates a playful spar. It invites them to banter back with you. Pure validation shuts down a conversation because there's nowhere to go after thanks. A challenge opens one up.
It's the difference between being a fan and being a rival. And rivals are just sexier.
In the context of flirting, absolutely.
Which transitions perfectly into what I think is the trickiest territory of all friendships. Hussey talks about the unhatched egg syndrome.
This is a painful one to read. It's when you are nursing a crush on a friend, treating it like a fragile egg, hoping that one day it will just magically hatch into a relationship. But you're too afraid to make a move because you don't want to ruin the friendship.
I feel totally called out. I think everyone has done this at some point. You convince yourself you're being noble by waiting.
But Hussey's advice here is brutal. You aren't being noble, you're lurking. You aren't really their friend if you're secretly waiting for them to date you. You are just a lobbyist in disguise.
Ouch! A lobbyist in disguise. So what do you do then?
You crack the egg.
Just crack it. Smash it.
Crack it open. If it's empty, it's empty. And then you can finally move on. But living in the torture of secret, unrequited love is not a friendship. It's a lie.
That is true. It's inherently deceptive. So how do you crack the egg without making it this super heavy, we need to talk, I have feelings for you conversation that completely destroys the group dynamic?
Give soft crab.
The soft crab. This was easily my favorite part of the Hussey transcript. Please explain the soft crab.
It is about creating a shared inside joke.
Yeah.
The example they gave was being at a buffet that didn't have soft shell crab and just joking with your crush about the deep tragedy of the lack of soft crab.
Which is total nonsense.
Complete nonsense.
Sure.
But it creates a shared world between the two of you. Now, soft crab becomes a shorthand, and later you can text them saying, "Hey, I found a place that actually has great soft crab," and boom, that is a very low-pressure date invite.
It is so much better than, hey, we should hang out sometime. It's specific, it's funny, and it builds on a connection you already established.
Exactly. It completely lowers the stakes. Because if they say no, they're just saying no to crab. It's not a fundamental rejection of your soul.
Okay, so we've cracked the egg, we've deployed the soft crab. Now let's talk about what happens when things get intimate. Because de Menard has a really interesting take on casual dating versus serious relationships.
He does. He believes they are on the exact same continuum. In fact, he suggests that a hoe phase, again, his words, is actually good training for a serious marriage.
That sounds completely counterintuitive. Usually people say you need to get serious to find a serious partner. Doesn't casual sex just make you cynical?
He argues the exact opposite. He says you need to develop an abundance mindset. Because if you marry the very first person who pays attention to you, just because you're afraid no one else will, you are operating out of scarcity. And that leads to bad marriages.
So casual dating is like market research?
Essentially, yes. It helps you figure out what you like, what you don't like, And it gives you the confidence to choose a partner because you genuinely want them, not because you need them to survive. It shifts the dynamic from desperation to selection.
That does make sense. It's like test driving cars. You don't know you hate low suspension until you actually drive one. But speaking of driving, let's talk about the mechanics of intimacy itself. De Menard mentions performative sex.
This is a pretty sad observation. He notes that many people, particularly women he's dated, seem to have casual sex for validation rather than actual physical pleasure. They want to feel desired, but they aren't actually enjoying the act itself.
So they are performing the role of a sex partner rather than actually being one.
Exactly. And this links perfectly to our bustle source.
Right.
If you want to actually enjoy the intimacy, apparently you need to curate your playlist.
Here it is. The fact I have been waiting for all episode. According to a bustle experiment, what is the best music for sex?
It is not R&B. It is not smooth jazz. It is EDM. Specifically, Skrillex and Avicii.
Skrillex. I mean, nothing says romance like a massive bass drop.
Apparently so. The study or experiment rather suggested that the energy and rhythm of EDM, followed very closely by classical music, actually produced the best physiological experience.
Okay, Mozart I can kind of get. Skrillex is just a curveball. But I guess it's about the intensity.
It's about being present in the moment and matching energy levels. And it connects right back to de Menard's point about sexual compatibility. He says it's non-negotiable. If the sex is bad or completely mismatched, don't pretend it's going to get better just because they're a nice person.
And part of finding that compatibility is what we talked about earlier, radical honesty.
Yes. Hussey talks about this regarding STIs. He says you should treat it as neutral medical information to be shared confidently, not as some shameful baggage. And de Menard talks about it regarding kinks.
Shame is a weakness.
That is his core philosophy. If you are honest about your weird sexual history or your really specific desires, you might scare off the vanilla people who remember the handcuffs from earlier, but you will be a massive attractor for the person who is actually into the exact same things.
It circles all the way back to the team sport idea. You cannot find your teammate if you are wearing a disguise.
Precisely. And this leads us to the overarching theme of all these different sources of intentionality.
Right. De Menard warns against letting relationships just happen to you. Like, oh, my lease is up and you live nearby, so I guess we'll move in together.
He calls that sliding rather than deciding. You need to be the conscious architect of your love life. Don't just be a passenger. If you want casual, be intentional about it. If you want a spouse, be intentional about it.
And Hussey adds a really good layer to this with what he calls the Jack Black test.
Oh, this is a great reality check. He talks about how certain flirting moves, like the draw me like one of your French girls line, really only work if you have a specific big personality.
Right, like Jack Black. If I tried to pull that off, I would just look insane.
Exactly. If you try to copy paste someone else's personality, it fails completely. The lesson isn't copy Jack Black. It's find the version of these tactics that fits your actual character. Congruence is key.
So, bringing it all together, what does this actually mean for the listener today?
It means that the battlefield is a myth. It's a story we tell ourselves to excuse a lack of strategy. If you view dating as a skill, something you can practice, something you can improve, and strategize it, stops being this scary one-faced nightmare.
You actually have agency. You aren't just a leaf blowing in the wind of romance.
And I would leave the listener with this final provocative thought. We talked about the unhatched egg earlier. I really want you to ask yourself, are you playing a game of hide and seek where you are hiding too well?
Ooh, that hits close to home.
Are you sitting in your tower or your apartment just waiting for Prince Charming or the manic pixie dream girl to break down your door? Because they won't. The world is too noisy. You have to crack the egg. You have to send the soft crab text. You have to post the arm wrestle challenge.
Stop hiding. Start actually playing the game. It is a team sport, but you have to show up to tryouts.
And maybe, just maybe, cue up some Skrillex.
Use that one at your own risk. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you in the next one.